Hello and welcome back to another FPL transfer tips video. This week we're taking a look at game week 21 and our game week 20 tips went pretty well. We got 4 out of the 5 correct for the immediate game week, with both of our Nottingham Forest buys doing really nicely, with Wood obviously scoring and keeping a clean sheet for Aina. So an 8-pointer for Wood and a 6-pointer for Aina. Our sell in James Maddison, he was another success, just isn't really performing to the levels that we would want from him. He only got a 1-pointer, so that was ideal. Our keeping Nicholas Jackson, he unfortunately got another 2-pointer. Whether you want to continue on with him, it's up to you. There is a lot of good strikers out there at the minute, and Jackson potentially isn't the best one. However, the Chelsea fixtures are still pretty good, so if you wanted to keep for the upcoming games, I don't really think it's the end of the world. Obviously, Chelsea's form hasn't been great recently either, but like I said, there is a lot of good strikers at the minute. And then obviously Luis Diaz as well, someone we picked as an avoid. Only a 1-pointer. He was getting mass brought in last week. Obviously being a minutes risk isn't ideal either, but overall I do think it was a nice little week for us. So it does bring up our seasonal success rate for the immediate game week up to 68%, which is ideal, and we have 5 more transfers for game week 21, so let's jump straight into it. Now moving on to our first buy of the video, and it is Anthony Gordon. For me, probably one of the most obvious buys for the upcoming games. You know, Newcastle have really nice fixtures still, and he has been one of the best performing midfielders in the last couple of weeks. He's only 7.5 million as well, which is ideal, but he is our most transferred player in so far this week by about 100,000. I believe he is only, I believe he's first and second is Lewis Hall at about 280,000 as well. He isn't due to rise in price for another little while, so if you want to wait until the deadline, you probably can. But again, like I said, really nice fixtures. Wolves at home in the next one was really good. Bournemouth being a home fixture as well is ideal, and then obviously Southampton, one of the worst defences in the league so far this season. So 3 really nice fixtures for him. I think if there's any point to try and triple up on Newcastle, now is the time to do it. Gordon has also made his way up the stats rankings for midfielders when it comes to expected goals. He's now sitting in 4th for the entire season, so a really good couple of weeks has shot him right up the rankings. He's only behind Salah, Palmer and Brennan Johnson now, as well, with a 6.4 expected goals. So the stats are backing him to do well. He is, in really good form. For 7.5 million, it does seem like a no-brainer. Key passes, he's sitting in 4th as well. Palmer clear at the top, very close for 2nd place. So another couple good games from Gordon. He could easily become the 2nd for key passes from midfielders. Then for expected points for midfielders over the next 4 games, he is once again sitting in 4th place, only behind Salah and Palmer, your 2 premiums. Bruno Fernandes is only slightly ahead with 0.4 extra over the next 4 matches, and he is just a little bit ahead of Eze as well. So for me, Bruno and Gordon, really good picks over the next few. Gordon more specifically because he is, returning. He's much more attacking than Bruno is, and again, looking at the fixtures, again, they're really good. And even the 4th fixture along, Fulham at home, another home fixture. So you're considering how good Newcastle are at home. They've got 3 home games in the next 4. For me, is definitely a buy. Next up, we have another popular option who has kind of just popped up over the last 2 weeks, and it is Savinho. Now, for me, I would be looking to avoid him at this point. He is only 6.5 million. He has recently picked up a 13-pointer and a 14-pointer in the last 2 games with a goal, and I want to say 3 assists, potentially 4 assists in the last 2. But he's been transferred in over 200,000 times. I'm obviously a Manchester City winger for 6.5 million. Is kind of what we have been looking for the likes of Phil Foden, and he's much cheaper than Foden is. You don't have to worry about any price changes, so that's fine if you want to wait until the deadline. My reason for avoiding him is because of the upcoming fixtures for Manchester City. Of course, that Ipswich fixture next game week is an ideal one for him, but everything around that isn't looking too good. If we pull up Man City's fixtures for the next 10 game weeks, they really don't have a nice run at all. They've got Brentford away, which is now classed as a red fixture due to Brentford's home form. Obviously, Ipswich being the only good one in there. Chelsea at home, very difficult. Arsenal away, extremely difficult. Newcastle at home is still going to be a tough fixture. Liverpool at home, obviously going to be a tough one as well. Spurs away, Forest away, one of the best defences in the league so far. So you're really talking up until about game week 29. Brighton at home could be one that you could consider a decent enough fixture. So, you're talking 9 more game weeks before Man City get a nice run of fixtures. And at the end of the day, Savinho isn't Haaland. If this was Haaland in this case, on the form that he can be, you could probably hold him through this, but even a lot of people wouldn't hold Haaland through this tough run. So do you really want to be holding someone who isn't as explosive, who isn't going to be scoring hat-tricks and stuff? And, most of his points over the last few weeks have came from assists. He's not really up there for goals. In the last 2 games where he has picked up a 13 and 14 pointer, he has only picked up, I believe, 0.34 expected goals. So not a huge goal threat. And again, he's not going to be picking up many braces and hat-tricks over the next 9 game weeks. So for me, I think I'd be avoiding this week. Next up, we have a player who has actually had a little bit of a mix when it comes to transfers in and out. He has 110,000 transfers out so far this week, but he also has 54,000 transfers in. So, no close to a price change. The transfers in are blocking off him dropping in price. 7.2 million. For me, I think I'd be keeping him, like 100% would be looking to keep him. The fixtures aren't too bad over the next 2 weeks. Obviously, Nottingham Forest away and Brentford away aren't ideal, but Trent is one of those players who can really get points in any game. Now, he's obviously been sold off after a pretty poor match against Manchester United, and obviously rumours that he is going to be going to Real Madrid. Is his head still in it? Well, we're looking at the last 4 games. Again, you can see the stats in the middle of the screen. Expected goal involvement over the last 4. He is still top for defenders. He's 1.4 XGI. Again, top for defenders, ahead of Vardiol, ahead of Munoz, ahead of Gabriel. So he's not exactly, he might not be scoring every single week, in the form of his life. He is still really much an attacking threat. For expected goal involvement over the course of the season at the top, he is of course at the top again with that, sitting in first place, again ahead of the likes of Munoz and Vardiol. And then again for expected points over the next couple of games, he is also sitting in first place. So not horrendous fixtures as well when you look at the bottom. He's got Ipswich at home, he's got Wolves at home, and what you really have to consider is the double game week that is going to be coming in the next 4 or 5 games. Obviously Liverpool had their fixture against Everton cancelled. That is looking like it's going to be put in either game week 24 or game week 25. So if you're going to be selling Trent now and then you want to prepare for the double game week in 24 or 25, you're really going to be looking at wanting them back in another 2 weeks time. People are going to be starting to get Liverpool players in for that Ipswich fixture in preparation for Bournemouth and Wolves, where they will potentially get Everton added in there, and you're really going to be looking at 2 weeks time. If you've sold Trent, you're going to be wanting to buy him back again, because when you think of Liverpool triple ups, you go Salah and then Trent's probably the second option. So for me, definitely be looking to keep him at this moment in time. Again, stats really favouring him. Yes, the next 2 fixtures aren't ideal, but as I said, he can easily get a goal, an assist, a clean sheet even. Liverpool are still probably the best defence in the league this season, so any clean sheets can come from anywhere. Next up, we have another Newcastle player. He is another buy as well. Again, the Newcastle fixtures are great right now and they're on fantastic form. So if you're wanting a triple up, for me, I think it would be these 3 with Hall, with Gordon, who we've also recommended, and Isak, who everyone at this point should have. So Lewis Hall, he's now up to 4.9 million. If you got him earlier, then that's ideal. But 4.9 million if you want to buy him this week. Again, the second most transferred player in so far this week, with 279,000 transfers in. Don't really have to go over the fixtures. Again, as I said, very nice for Newcastle, with Wolves at home, Southampton away, Bournemouth at home. Now, obviously, Hall isn't going to be the most explosive defender. He's not someone who gets goals and assists every single week. He is picking up a couple of assists, though, which is why he is a popular choice. But in terms of Newcastle's defensive stats, they are, again, one of the best defences in the league at the minute. If you look at their expected goals conceded over the last 5 matches, they are essentially tied with Arsenal and Liverpool as the best defence. And again, well ahead of anyone else. You're really looking at that top 3, 4.1, 4.1, 4.2. Then there's a big drop before Forest and Wolves at 6.3 and 6.6. Even when you're looking at shots conceded over the last 5, again, it's the same top 3, Arsenal, Liverpool, then Newcastle, and then it's Chelsea and Fulham following those. So again, top 3 defences in the league, up there with the best so far over the last 5 matches. And then obviously you want to pick your defender. Who's it going to be? Looking at expected goal involvement, Hall is the clear choice with 3.5 XGI so far this season. If you're looking at the other side, like a Livramento, you know, he's not really there at all when it comes to expected goal involvement. So Hall's definitely the option you want to be going for. Obviously Botman's now back, which only makes the Newcastle defence stronger. Would definitely be looking at Hall, even if it isn't for attacking returns. I think clean sheets are definitely coming for Newcastle. And our final one of the day is Enzo Fernandez. He's been transferred out 127,000 times. He is due to drop in price tomorrow, so it's probably someone you want to get out as soon as possible. He is just unfortunately a bit of a failed experiment. We spoke about him as a buy a couple of weeks ago when the stats were favouring him. Right now, he's just not really performing the same. I think it was just a little bit of a purple patch over the last over a couple of weeks period. We can take a look at those stats from game week 12 to 16 where he was performing well, and the last 4 game weeks where he just hasn't really been doing well at all. So, you know, 12 to 16 for expected goal involvements, he was sitting 6th for midfielders, which, you know, is great, especially for someone who is as cheap as he is at 5.1 million. But then if you look at the last 4 matches, he's sitting in 18th, so a big drop off, 3 times worse than what he was doing before. You know, for points over that period, 12 to 16, he was the 3rd best for midfielders. Now you're talking, you know, in the 80s, he's 50 plus. There's 50 midfielders who have done better than him in the last 4 weeks, and unfortunately it's just not really working anymore. Again, for 5.1 million, you've got the likes of Morgan Rogers, who is my favourite pick. Personally wouldn't go towards Amad Diallo, but again, you've probably got money elsewhere. Rogers is easily the best one within that 5 million range. Again, unfortunately, it looks like Enzo Fernandez just isn't working at the minute. He is taking up a valuable midfielder spot as well, which a lot of people are trying to fill. You've got, you know, Salah, Palmer, Bruno, Gordon, Rogers. There is a lot more. I just can't name them off the top of my head, but there's probably some midfielders, Mbuemo, you know, a lot of midfielders that you can think of that you want at the minute, and Enzo's just not really performing to that level. So this is how it's looking for this week's transfer tips. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like. Hopefully we can get another week with 5 out of 5. We've got our 2 Newcastle buys, a sell in Enzo Fernandez, a keep for Trent Alexander-Arnold, and avoiding Savinho. So let me know if you agree with these transfer tips. Are you looking at bringing any of these players in or taking them out? Again, like if you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe as well if you are new, and I'll see you all in the next one.